Hi, everyone. I'm Marla Miller from marlamiller.com and Writer's Mama. And this is our first show, and I'm excited about it because I have an author here who I've known for many years, Gail Carline. I'm calling the show 21st Century Author and Book Promotion, and I'm doing that specifically because I want to there's so many authors out here, and I want to give authors an opportunity to be interviewed, to promote their books. But also, I see this show, this 15-minute show, and that's all we're going to do is about 15 minutes, as a tutorial for writers on the road to publication. And who better to learn from than authors that have been where you are? So with that, I will welcome Gail Carline, my first guest, to our show. Welcome, Gail.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I'm delighted. And, I will tell people that you teach at the Southern California Writers Conference.
I do.
And you have for a long time. And it's specifically, you really zoom in on the self-published author, don't you?
I kind of do. I kind of do.
Well, let's talk about why you might do that. Because you are, if there's anyone who's got roots in self-publishing and experience, it's you. You have 15 novels published.
15, yes, soon to be 16, but yeah, 15. Yeah.
So like a lot of authors and writers on the road, you had another profession before you came to the writing life.
Yes, I was a software engineer.
You were a software engineer.
Right in with creativity. Yeah.
And did it also help you, being a software engineer, did it help you on the web to kind of navigate your way through the long list of things that self-published authors have to do?
It does. I mean, one of the things that I can do myself, if you're a self-published writer, you have to format your books, and it's a very daunting sort of challenge. And I know how to do it because I'm so familiar with Word and I'm familiar with Excel, so I can do a lot of stuff with that. And what you wouldn't think of, but I know how to meet a deadline. And that is important because when you're self-published, you are setting your own deadlines. And you need to plan those out, plan those specific pieces out, and meet them.
Boy,
if you're going to keep going.
If that isn't the truth, and I could go down a road with my own, I've only had one book that I've self-published, and I could go down that road in terms of meeting deadlines. I won't. But when you mention that, you have been a columnist, and in fact, wasn't your first book a collection of columns that humor columns that you tell us about it? Did you try and look for a traditional publisher back when?
I did. I'd written a mystery and gotten that published with a small press back in Baltimore.
Okay.
And so, but I had this book of columns. I wrote, I still am writing columns, but my friends are like, oh, you should put them in a book like Irma Bombeck or Dave Barry. And so I'm trying to do that. And I'm approaching agents and publishers, and they're all telling me the same thing, which is, that sounds like fun, but you're not famous. So call us when you're Dave Barry. And I'm like, well, I don't think Dave Barry wants me to, that's identity theft. So, let's,
Yeah.
What else
I don't think he'd
do?
like that.
No, he would not like that. So it was just at the days when self-publishing was losing that vanity press stigma.
Yeah.
Amazon had launched CreateSpace and Kindle. Self-publishing. There was a thing, there still is a thing called Smashwords, where you upload your file in just like a PDF, and they convert it to whatever it needs and put it onto all the publishing sites that take ebooks. So I'm like, it's a completely different genre from mystery. Let's try it. And as luck would have it, my son was singing in a choir, high school choir, with a girl whose dad was a graphic designer. I said, do you do covers, book covers? And he said, all the time. And Joe Felipe has been my cover designer forever.
And that helps, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because you trust him.
Yeah, I trust him, and we work well together, and he's affordable for me. So yeah.
Right. And you mentioned genres. I know that you have published in several different genres.
Yes.
Talk just a little bit about that, if you would, because, you know, in our business, publishing in several genres until recently was like verboten. You don't do that because you don't develop a following in any one genre. But that's no longer true. And you were doing it, though, when it was still the norm that don't publish in several genres. So tell us about that a little
well,
bit.
And traditional publishers, you know, if you're with a contract with them, they will actively discourage you from going into a different genre.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, you're in this lane, stay in that lane. I guess I read across genres, and when I have an idea, and I feel like I know how to write the standard, the cookie cutter, you know, I could pump out cozy mysteries all day long. But it's not fun for me. And the whole point of me becoming an author was to write something I wanted to read. And
Cool.
I like to, yeah, so I like to read things that maybe take a left turn here and there and something unexpected and don't fit like like the conventional theory of, oh, this is, you know, this is a romantic suspense. Well, this is a thriller. You know, I want let's kind of mix and match.
And as I recall, a couple of years back, you even did, was it a memoir about a horse?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it was in the horse's voice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that really reflects your comedy sensibility. Yes. I mean, it does.
It does. It does.
And it was a pretty successful book. I mean, people really dug that book.
Yeah, I've had I don't really bill it as a children's book, but I've had kids as young as 8 read it. It's very Southern California Black beauty story.
Yeah.
You know, you think you're going to be a champion, you get injured, and now what do you do with your life? So it's got a message there.
Title. What's the title of that one?
It's called From the Horse's Mouth, One Lucky Memoir. And it's really a fictionalized version of a true story, unless you think horses really talk, and then it's all true.
Well, I come from the era of Mr. Ed, so
there we go. Yeah,
you know. Okay, and so I know that the other thing that you do, so you consider yourself a publisher, and a publisher has to sell books.
Yes.
And so let's talk a little bit about that, because I know that you're on the road a lot selling your books. Give people who are considering self-publishing a little bit of the nitty-gritty of what that involves, Gail.
Okay, so first of all, I love my books. I will not lie. I'm like any other author. They are my babies. I am very proud of each and every one of them. But that being said, when I put on my publisher's hat, I now consider them a product. They are a business, and I have to treat them as a business.
Indeed.
And so the ebook advertising has to be kind of relentless, and I have to pick and choose which areas that I'm going to advertise in, because, you know, not everybody wants, you know, Facebook ads that worked 2 weeks ago no longer work. People are tired of them. So now you got to hop onto a different platform, advertise there. But you've got to have something going at least every month to keep your ebook business active.
And you have done that.
I have done that. I have, during the pandemic, I admit I slacked off a little bit, which I should have been pushing, but I think everybody was in a state of shock. So I'm going to forgive myself. Lately, this past year, I've gotten much heavier into direct hand-to-hand sales. So yeah, I've been going to, I found that craft festivals are a really lovely place to sell books, because I'm the only bookseller.
Oh, that's a great idea, Gail.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that one?
Well,
did you happen to notice at a craft festival there were no booksellers?
Well, ever since childhood, every place we would go that sold anything, I would see if they sold books. So there's that.
Okay, yeah.
But my hometown, Placentia, California, has a Heritage Day And because I'm a local author, I always have a booth there, and I'm always the only author there. And
Oh,
that suddenly started to kind of register with me. And
gotcha.
so this past winter, I tried some craft fairs, and they always kind of, when I fill out the form, they're like, "You make books?" And I'm like, "Kind of,
Yeah,
sort
you
of,
do.
yeah." Like, I'm not in there like, putting all the pages together, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I did really well. So I'm doing something at the end of May. I'm doing something in the middle of June. I've hooked into an arts foundation that does a lot of in-person sorts of activities. They're doing a thing. The thing I'm doing in May is they have a little area where they have a live music, a food truck, and vendors.
Wonderful.
And it's right outside the library.
Great.
So people coming out of the library and want more books. Hi,
Great.
what do you like to read? I like to write.
And that leads me to my next question. Advice that you can give to self-published authors, maybe two things that are really, really important when it comes to the publishing process, that they should keep in mind should they go down this road to publication.
Okay, the first thing to keep in mind is that, again, once you decide to publish and put it out into the world, this is a product and you are a business, and that means you invest in it. So
Okay.
you hire an editor.
Okay.
You hire unless you are a graphic designer that designs book covers and
Yeah.
hire that done. For my last two mysteries, I hired a publicist.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was it helpful?
Yes, and it was
Okay.
helpful. Yes.
Okay. Because not
So,
all are.
right, right.
Not all
But
publicists are.
and I think part of the thing was that I have been doing this and working my own publicity and marketing for so long that I knew what I wanted, what kind
Good.
of help I wanted. So it
Good.
helps to be really go in there knowing what you want.
Yeah,
Um,
I think when self-publishing first came out, the MO about it was that it was free, that
yeah,
all you do is, and boy, if that is not the truth,
no. If you want to compete with the traditionally published, and I always I have joy in my heart when I'm reading a traditionally published book and there's a typo right on the first page. So
I
I'm
know,
like, yeah, yeah. Don't tell
and
me that my work is not up to
exactly.
stuff.
That's funny. I've heard that from several people who have not only self-published, but who have gone to small presses and, and have seen a typo. And so then, they'll go into, and it's true. I mean, I will tell you that it's really a lot more true today than it was maybe 20 years ago.
Yes, I agree.
But the business is totally
up. I
mean, it's,
which is probably my second thing about if you're going to self-publish, be flexible.
meaning
the publishing industry changes
good,
day to day, hour to hour.
good.
So what I did back in 2010 when I was releasing that book of columns no longer works today.
I know. Isn't that the truth?
And you have to
people
roll with
need
it.
to really hear this from Gail, that it is the entire industry is evolving, and
is a little bit wild west.
It is
sometimes.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
And I think that what I'm seeing now, when I published it, it was around that time, 2010, because that's when it was really hot. When it first came out, and there were some writers who were like just selling oodles and oodles of their books. And so it gave us all like hope.
Right.
And it's very different now.
Yes.
It went through I think the self-publishing dipped for a while, but man, it's coming back really, really strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my own belief, Gail, is that as we continue with this new magical formula that we have on the internet, that more and more writers are going to be leaning towards self-publishing. And the other reason is that traditional publishing is getting smaller and smaller, and their authors are becoming bigger and bigger. They can just go on the internet and any social media platform and grab influencers and ask them if they want to write books. If you have 100,000 followers, that's just registering as money for publishers. Exactly. And what you said before is just critically important. Publishers are out to make money. That's what they're out to do. They've got to make money. Our 15 minutes is up, but I need one. I want to throw one more question. Would you ever consider, Gail, considering your 15 books, 14 being self-published, would you ever consider going down the traditional publishing road with your next book or with?
Well, I don't like to say never, because never always bites me in the tush. I am not inclined to go with traditional publishing at this point in my life, for a couple of reasons. One being that I'm 69 years old.
And you wear it well, my dear.
Thank you. Well, it's the filters, right? And which sounds like nothing to me, but next year is 70, and that 70. Sounds like a number.
That is a number.
When Indeed. I look at the possibility of getting a book traditionally published, that's finding an agent, getting it through the publishing to a publisher and getting it through their committee, getting it approved, getting it edited by them, getting it put on their schedule, we can be looking at 5 years. And I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
I've got stories to tell. And my second reason is that I would want a traditional publisher primarily for the marketing. And if they're not going to put the money into marketing me, I mean, they'll spend millions on commercials for James Patterson's new book, and that man doesn't need another penny.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Very, very true.
I'm sorry, James Patterson. I love you. But
I know.
Share the
It's true, Gail. They're not going to spend money on first-time authors. They're not even going to spend money on what we consider mid-list authors. That I don't even think it's a term that they use anymore.
I don't think they have any anymore.
Because they kicked them all out. And gave all their rights back to them. But I think that going down the road of self-publishing really lends itself to the older population of writers. It really does, because agents are looking for careers, and as you said, as we get older, we don't they don't
think we have the legs.
I
still feel like I could write another 18, 20 books.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe probably can.
Maybe you will. Listen, I could talk to you all day long, but we're going to end this now because I'm really wanting to keep this to a short segment so that people will stay with us and listen to what you have to say. For those of you who are interested, Gail Carline's books are on Amazon.
They're on Amazon. You can go on to Barnes and Noble carries them, the paperbacks. You can go into any bookstore and order them.
Wonderful.
And if you go into my website, gailcarline.com, I am Gail Carline, no matter where you look.
Good.
You will find all of my personal appearances.
Good. So we can keep up with you.
Yep.
Excellent. And for those of you who are inclined to go to writers' conferences, and you know how I feel about those, I think they're absolutely instrumental.
You need to go.
Need to go. Gail Carline will be at the Southern California Writers Conference in September and also in February, and you can pick her brain there. Gail, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
And you know what? I'm looking for now remember, folks, this is our first one. And so the host has to stop recording. Thanks, everyone. And Gail, you're a sweetie.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.